Act as if the stars bend for you, as if delay is not denial but design. Walk like the ground owes you gentleness. Speak like victory lives in your throat. Breathe like prayers have already been answered. When you believe it's all working out, the universe rushes to keep up. Radical faith in the unseen is not a soft hope whispered in the dark. It is a roaring knowing that echoes louder than circumstance. It is the fierce, unshaken trust in something greater, deeper, and wiser than what your eyes can see or your hands can hold. This kind of faith is not for the faint-hearted. It is for those who have learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is believe without proof, stand without evidence, and smile without a single sign that things will go your way. Radical faith is the soul's refusal to bow to fear. It is the art of saying yes to life even when life seems to be saying no. It is that sacred fire inside you that refuses to be dimmed by delay, rejection, or confusion. It is not passive. It does not sit still, waiting for things to change. It moves boldly, breathes deeply, and walks with grace even through the storm. Faith like this stretches beyond logic. It leans into mystery. It trusts timing, trusts detours, and trusts silence. It is not loud, but it is sure. To walk with radical faith is to speak as if mountains already moved, even while they still cast their shadow. It is to plant seeds in soil you've never seen rain touch. It is to dance before the music starts. And when you do this, you send a message to the universe, to God, to life itself, that you are ready, not because you've seen the signs, but because you've decided to believe. Faith is a decision, a discipline, a daily devotion to the unseen goodness that you know deep down is yours. When everything around you is uncertain, radical faith is your anchor. It is what holds you upright when logic tells you to fall apart. When people ask, "How are you still going?" faith smiles back and says, "Because I know something you can't see." Faith does not deny the difficulty. It just refuses to be defined by it. It acknowledges the mountain, but still says, "I'm climbing." It sees the storm clouds, but still says, "The sun is coming." It hears the doubt, the fear, the worry, but chooses not to make a home there. Radical faith is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about knowing that even the imperfections are part of the plan. It's about trusting that the detour was not a mistake, but a setup, that the closed door was not rejection, but redirection, that the heartbreak wasn't to destroy you, but to awaken something deeper within you. Faith teaches you to trust what you cannot yet name, to thank the invisible, to love the process even when it makes no sense. We are not asked to understand the journey. We are asked to walk it. We are not asked to see the finish line. We are asked to take the next step. Radical faith whispers, "Keep going," even when the path disappears. It wraps you in peace when the world wants you anxious. It lifts your chin and reminds you who you are when life tries to make you small. It makes you brave. It makes you soft where the world tries to harden you. It keeps you open when pain tries to close you. To have radical faith in the unseen is to fall in love with the unknown. It is to know without seeing that your life is held, that something divine is orchestrating the details, that your tears are counted, your efforts remembered, and your prayers, each one carrying weight beyond time. Faith is not a crutch, it is a crown. It is what allows you to walk with the dignity of someone who knows that life is not happening to you, it is happening for you, even when you don't yet see how. So you hold your head high, not because the world gave you a reason, but because your soul already knows the outcome. You bless your present even when it aches, because you trust your future to be good. You expect miracles in ordinary moments. You trust divine timing even when it stretches you. You stop begging for signs and start being the sign. That's what radical faith does. It transforms you into a living, breathing testimony of what is possible when you decide that the unseen is not empty, it is sacred. Grace in every stride is not about moving without struggle. It is about moving with dignity through the struggle. It is the quiet strength that allows you to carry burdens without letting them break your spirit. Grace is the way you hold yourself when the world tries to make you small. It's how you rise again and again with softness in your eyes and power in your spine. It is the elegance of resilience, the fluid beauty of unwavering faith, the calm that refuses to be shaken. To walk with grace in every stride is not to pretend you are untouched by life. It is to show that even when touched, you are not undone. Grace is not about perfection. It's about presence. It is the decision to move forward, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, without dragging bitterness behind you. It is the refusal to allow pain to change the essence of who you are. You may carry scars, but you walk like they are art. You may feel tired, but you walk like you are guided. You may be uncertain, but you walk like the earth knows your name. Grace is a choice. It is how you respond when life tries to unravel you. It's in the way you speak when you've been misunderstood, the way you stay silent when being loud would be easier. Grace is how you maintain your light in dark places. It is the patience to wait without resentment and the strength to continue without applause. It is not arrogance, it is assurance. It does not beg to be seen, it doesn't need to. Grace announces itself through presence, not performance. There is grace in wiping your own tears and still choosing to smile at others. There is grace in forgiveness, even when the apology never came. There is grace in choosing peace over proving a point, in choosing stillness over chaos. And there is sacred grace in the simple act of showing up every day when the weight of the world has tried to convince you to quit. To walk with grace in every stride is to live as though your very existence is a form of prayer. Each step becomes a declaration. I am still here. I am still worthy. I am still becoming. Grace does not mean you do not cry. It means you know how to rise after the crying. It does not mean you never doubt. It means your doubt never gets the final say. Grace is what catches you when everything else falls away. It is what lets you keep walking even when you're walking through fire. And when you walk with grace, you do not move for validation. You do not shrink for comfort. You move with the knowing that you belong, not because the world said so, but because your soul declared it long ago. Your stride is not rushed, it is intentional. You are not chasing, you are attracting, you are not pleading, you are preparing. That is what grace does. It clears the noise so your essence can speak. Even in heartbreak, grace has a sound. Even in loneliness, grace has a light. It is the soft glow that follows you when all the lights go out. It is the rhythm that your feet find when everything else feels offbeat. You don't have to understand grace to embody it. You don't have to have all the answers to walk like you are held. You only need to trust that every step, even the heavy ones, are carrying you toward your becoming. There will be days you want to run. There will be days you fall. Grace doesn't demand that you stay strong every moment. It simply invites you to rise again, not bitter, but better, not hardened, but healed, not closed, but clear. Grace is what allows you to carry both joy and sorrow and still move beautifully. It is what wraps around your tired shoulders and whispers, "You are still enough." And so, you move through this world, not always sure of the path, but certain of your presence. You leave footprints made of peace. You speak with kindness, not because life has always been kind to you, but because you chose not to pass on the pain. You walk with grace not to impress, but because your spirit demands it. That is the power of carrying grace in every stride. Power in your presence is not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the stillness that quiets the room. It is the unshakable truth that lives within you, the kind that doesn't need validation to exist. True presence doesn't ask permission. It simply is. It fills the space without force. It demands nothing, yet it shifts everything. The power in your presence begins the moment you decide that who you are, without adornment, without performance, is already enough. To hold power in your presence is to know that your value is not up for debate. It's not negotiated by opinion, by trend, by status, or by who notices you. Your presence is powerful because it carries all the roads you've walked, all the pain you've survived, all the wisdom you've earned through stillness, suffering, and rising. When you enter a space, you carry all of that with you. That weight is not a burden. It is your authority. The way you stand, the way you breathe, the way your eyes meet the world, all of it speaks, even when your mouth is closed. Power and presence is not measured by noise, but by depth. It is in your ability to listen, to witness, to be fully in the moment without needing to dominate it. It is in how you make others feel seen while remaining rooted in your own worth. There is something unteachable about that. It's not learned, it's remembered. It comes when you stop hiding, when you no longer shrink to make others comfortable, when you no longer soften your truth to keep the peace. When you possess true presence, your silence speaks louder than someone else's performance. You don't have to explain yourself, justify yourself, or shrink yourself to be worthy. You are already worthy. You are already here. And that in itself is power. The world will try to make you forget it. It will tell you to prove, to earn, to hustle for attention. But power that is rooted in presence does not hustle. It magnetizes. It draws what is aligned and repels what is not. Your presence becomes powerful the moment you own it. The moment you stop asking, am I too much or am I enough? The moment you let go of needing to fit in rooms that were never built for your truth. Your power is not in the approval of others. It is in your ability to walk into any space and not need anyone to agree with who you are. It is the deep, sacred confidence that comes from knowing you don't have to become anything to be whole. You already are. Power in your presence is the way you enter with peace. It is the way you carry your story without apology. It is how you claim your joy without permission. It's in how you choose grace over defense, clarity over chaos, and substance over noise. It's not about controlling how others see you. It's about staying rooted in how you see yourself. That kind of presence is rare. It is holy. It is revolutionary in a world that tells you to perform your worth rather than own it. People may forget your words, they may forget what you wore or what you did, but they will remember how they felt when you were in the room. That feeling is your presence. That is your essence speaking. And when your presence is grounded in love, in integrity, in truth, in stillness, then your power becomes undeniable. Not because you announced it, but because you embodied it. You do not need to take up space to be seen. You need only to be fully yourself within it. You need only to walk in your truth with your head high and your heart unguarded. The world will adjust. It may resist at first, but eventually it will learn to respond to the power you hold when you no longer doubt your own light. You are not here to shrink. You are not here to be invisible. You are here to be felt. So when you show up fully. Stand in the fullness of your story. Speak when it matters. Be silent when it's sacred. Move like you are enough because you are. Move like you are allowed because you are. Move like you are the answer, not the question. That is what it means to carry power in your presence. Speak from the end, not the struggle. Speak from the place where the victory already lives, where the healing has already happened, where the peace has already arrived. When you open your mouth, let it be a declaration, not a desperation. Too often we speak from the middle of the storm, and though the pain is real, the more we rehearse it, the more rooted it becomes. But when you speak from the end, you claim what is not yet visible as if it already belongs to you, and that is where transformation begins. Speaking from the end is not denial. It is divine alignment. It is choosing to tell the story from the other side, even when your feet are still standing in the fire. It is seeing the broken pieces and still calling it beautiful. It is looking at lack and still speaking abundance. You don't lie to yourself, you lead yourself. You speak from the place of promise, not the pit. You remind yourself what's coming so the present doesn't swallow you whole. There is power in the tongue, not just in what it names, but in what it builds. Every word you speak is either constructing a bridge or reinforcing a wall. So speak as if the mountain has already moved. Speak as if the doors have already opened. Speak as if you already are who you've been becoming. Your words carry vibration. They echo into your habits, your decisions, your spirit. And when you choose to speak from the end, your life begins to respond to that expectation. There will be times when your reality and your speech won't match. That is okay. Faith is not about what you see. It's about what you believe in spite of what you see. You don't need all the facts to speak the truth of your becoming. The world may say you're failing, but your spirit knows you're being formed. The world may say you're late, but the divine timing over your life says you're right on time. Speak from that place. Speak from the end. Because when you speak from the struggle, your energy follows your fear. But when you speak from the end, your energy follows your faith. And energy builds reality. What you believe in deeply and consistently affirm begins to show up in your life, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. You trained your tongue to tell a story worth living. You didn't just wish for change. You created space for it with every word you spoke. It doesn't mean you don't acknowledge the hardship. It means you give the final word to hope, not despair. You can say, I'm hurting, but I'm healing. You can say, it's hard now, but it's not my forever. You can speak pain and still speak purpose. Speaking from the end is not erasing the middle. It's choosing the lens through which you view it. And that lens determines how you move. Speak like you've already arrived, not because you're pretending, but because your spirit recognizes home. Speak like the weight has lifted and watch your back straighten. Speak like love has found you and watch your heart soften. Speak like the money, the peace, the friendship, the breakthrough is already yours. And watch how your life begins to bend toward the tone you've set. The tongue is a compass. Point it where you want to go. When you speak from the end, you disrupt fear's narrative. You don't allow it to script your story. You say, this may be what I'm walking through, but it's not where I end. You reclaim authorship. You stop repeating what's wrong and start declaring what's right, what's next, what's yours. That kind of speech is not performance. It's prophecy. It is your soul reminding your body where it's headed. Speak from the end. Speak from the healed you, the free you, the whole you, even when the evidence hasn't caught up yet. The world may not understand it. That's all right. You're not here to convince them. You're here to carry vision. And sometimes vision makes you sound bold, even foolish. Let it. Every powerful life begins with a powerful voice, and that voice doesn't wait for confirmation. It speaks as if the outcome is already written in your favor, because it is. Wear resilience like royalty, not as armor that hides your scars, but as a crown forged from them. Let your resilience not be a quiet endurance, but a bold declaration that you did not come this far to crumble. You came to rise, to carry your story with elegance, to let the weight you've carried become the stature you stand with. Royalty does not ask to be seen. It is seen because of how it moves, how it holds its head, how it refuses to shrink. So too should your resilience live, in your spine, in your walk, in your breath. Resilience is not about pretending to be unaffected. It is about being deeply affected and choosing to stand anyway. It is the grace you give yourself when everything around you says break, and you whisper back, not today. Resilience is the quiet voice in the morning that says rise, the invisible hand that lifts you when you are tired of being strong. It is what remains when everything else falls away. And when you wear it like royalty, you don't hide your battles. You embody the triumph in surviving them. To wear resilience like royalty is to understand that your pain did not make you less. It made you luminous. It made you textured, wise, sharp in spirit, and soft in soul. It added layers to your strength. And now you walk not as someone untouched, but as someone transformed. You have known nights that lasted too long. You have tasted disappointment too often. You have lost more than you told anyone. And yet here you are, not bowed, but crowned. That is what royalty means. Not perfection, but presence. Let your resilience be the robe you wear, not heavy with shame, but rich with grace. You don't owe the world a story of ease. You owe yourself a story of truth, of rising, of remembering who you were before the world tried to make you forget. You do not have to be hardened to be strong. You do not have to be loud to be royal. Resilience is the quiet storm that reshapes the landscape. And when you carry it with dignity, the world feels it. You have a right to that resilience. You earned it with every tear you wiped alone, with every time you had to speak when your voice trembled, with every moment you stayed when you wanted to run. You earned that crown, so wear it. Not for applause, not for pride, but for presence, for remembrance. Let it remind you and others that you are not defined by what tried to break you. You are defined by what you chose to become after. Royalty does not forget the journey. It builds its throne on the lessons learned. Resilience is your history, but also your future. It is the soil from which your power grows. You are not just here to survive. You are here to reign over your life with clarity, with strength, and with softness. You are here to lead yourself gently, to not just get through, but to rise through beautifully and boldly. And when people see you now, strong, soft, certain, they may not know the battles behind your eyes. They may not know how many times you almost gave up. They may not understand the weight of your silence, the cost of your peace, but you do. That's why your crown is not for them. It's for you. A reminder that what tried to break you only taught you how to rebuild with deeper roots. Resilience, like royalty, doesn't mean you are always sure. It means that even in your uncertainty, you carry the memory of every time you made it through. It means that you've made peace with the fact that life will challenge you, but it will never defeat you. Not because you are immune to pain, but because you've decided pain will never have the last word. So walk like you've already won battles people haven't seen. Speak like your words are dipped in gold, not because of their shine, but because of their weight. Sit in your truth. Rise in your power. Own your past, but don't be owned by it. Let your presence be a testament to your becoming. When you wear resilience like royalty, you stop waiting for someone to hand you your worth. You already wear it. You already are it. You don't need to prove it. You just need to be it. Thank the wound before the healing, before the balm, before the closure, before the wisdom makes sense. Thank it. Thank the ache that cracked you open. Thank the silence that stretched longer than it should have. Thank the moment you broke because it taught you how deeply you were built. The wound was not the end. It was the invitation. It came not to destroy you, but to show you what still needed to be seen, softened, and set free. It is easy to be grateful for the healing once the pain has passed. easy to speak light when the darkness has lifted. But real power, sacred power, lives in the soul who can whisper thank you from within the wound, not because it enjoys the ache, but because it understands that something sacred is being formed in the hollow spaces. That growth rarely arrives dressed in comfort, that becoming often begins in breaking. There is wisdom inside the wound if you dare to sit with it long enough to listen. We are taught to run from pain, to numb it, silence it, outrun it. But wounds don't disappear when ignored. They deepen. They don't vanish with time. They transform only through attention. And when you thank the wound, you shift from resistance to reverence. You tell the pain, I see you, and in doing so, you see yourself more clearly. You begin to understand that the pain didn't come to punish, it came to purge. To purge what no longer serves, what no longer fits, what no longer aligns with the version of you that you are becoming. Thank the wound for slowing you down when you tried to outrun your truth. Thank it for humbling your pride, for silencing your ego, for making you ask for help. Thank it for pulling the masks off your face and showing you who you really are when everything else fell away. Wounds will show you what comfort never could. They reveal your endurance. They sharpen your compassion. They deepen your empathy. They carve space in you that healing will one day fill with wisdom and grace. And there is something holy about being able to say, even in my suffering, I am growing. To be able to hold your own heart, not with blame, but with care, not with shame, but with mercy. The wound will not always look like a gift, but if you sit with it, if you honor it, you may begin to notice the light sneaking through the cracks. You may begin to hear your own voice rise in the silence it once feared. Thank the wound that revealed what you thought you needed but didn't. Thank the heartbreak that taught you what love is not. Thank the loss that made space for something more honest, more aligned, more you. Every wound is a mirror, and every mirror has a lesson. Not because you deserve the pain, but because your becoming demanded truth. The wound shows up when the illusion can no longer hold your weight. And when the healing comes, and it will, you'll realize that the wound was not just the site of pain, but the birthplace of strength, that it shaped you in ways comfort never could, that it taught you to see in the dark, to listen beyond words, to soften in places you once held too tight. Healing isn't about going back to who you were. It's about becoming someone you've never been, more aware, more grounded, more whole. So thank the wound, not to glorify the suffering, but to honor what it gave you. Honor the clarity it birthed, the fire it ignited, the softness it restored. Let your gratitude be the soil where your healing begins to grow. Let it be the prayer that turns pain into purpose. Let it be the blessing that turns scars into symbols of survival. Wounds are not the enemy. Silence is, shame is, hiding is. But when you meet your pain with presence and gratitude, you give it the dignity it was always meant to have. You no longer see yourself as broken, but as breaking open. And that shift changes everything. You realize that every wound you've ever carried didn't stop your story. It deepened it. It made it more honest, more human, more holy. So before the wound closes, before the light floods in, bow to it, thank it. Because without it, you might never have learned the sound of your own soul. You have walked through fire and found your name still intact. You have risen with grace when silence tried to swallow your voice. You have chosen presence over performance, power over panic, and purpose over pain. Every wound became a teacher. Every setback shaped your stride. You did not crumble. You crowned yourself. You acted as if everything would work out, and life began to meet you there. You learned to speak from the victory, not the valley. You wore resilience not as a shield, but as a signal of your sacred becoming. And now, with quiet certainty, you understand the light was never just at the end of the tunnel. It was always in you.